folks. Welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Yeah, got some news to talk to you about. Not tons of stuff. I kind of cut it down a little bit, so it's just a few things, but there's some important things that we should talk about because it's very likely going to affect us, okay, in some way or the other. So we need to get on with that. Before I get started, I just want to say thank you for watching this channel. We had Thanksgiving last week, and I probably did not express my thanks enough for you folks. So I do thank you. If you're new to the channel, please considering subscribing to the channel. It's pain-free, doesn't cost you a thing. And if you don't like what you hear, you can always just unsubscribe and leave. I mean, it's fine. But subscribing to the channel, you tend to get the notifications sometimes. I know some of you don't. There's channels that I have been subscribed to for 2 or 3 years and have clicked the little bell icon to get the notifications, and I have never yet seen a notification. In fact, another prepper channel that happens with is Bear Independent. I've been a subscriber of his channel probably since when he started, and I don't know that I've ever received a notification of any of his videos. So I know that's the same with many of you. You say that. I can't fix that. That's a YouTube thing. But if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing because it's just like our own little online community here. So getting on with this, something big that happened today that we will have to wait and see what happens with it is this. The Senate has voted. They've passed legislation. I love how all these news outlets, the way they're wording it, to avert a rail shutdown. Of course, it goes to the president's desk, which he will most likely sign this since he's the one that was demanding Congress to do this. But I love how they paint this picture that, well, they have averted it. Because the Senate and, Congress, the House, the Senate, they've averted it. Now, what they have done is that they have forced all the rail workers to accept this deal that they voted to not accept, okay? So let's remember this. Regardless of whether, what you think about unions, these men and women were presented a proposal by their employers that did not include having sick days off, and they said, no, we don't want this, and if you don't include that, then we're going to go to strike, and basically, instead of complying with them, or at least having some kind of negotiation, the government has stepped in, and now they're going to force these employees to either go to work or to quit their jobs. They could do, man, I think I'm not a big union fan, but I'm telling you, that the government has the authority to go in and force people to go to work or get fired. Where they get the authority, I know there was a court case way back when that railroads are such a critical infrastructure, and they still are. I get all that. I get that. But if we are supposed to be a republic, I know we don't act like a republic. We don't even act like a democracy. We act like this socialist, dictatorial rule or rule by oligarchy and billionaires in business. But if we claim that we're some kind of free nation, how can the government justify themselves in forcing these people to accept this? They didn't force the companies to accept the rail workers' terms. They forced the rail workers, the people at the bottom of the totem pole, folks, the lowest rung, they forced them to accept the rail company's terms, the rail company that has been, they have been making lots and lots of money, record profits over the last couple of years. So it's interesting that this has happened, not surprising though. And we'll wait and see because there is just the little bit of time that I spent today online, the rail workers and then just the people, they're calling for strike. They say, go ahead and do it anyways. Do it anyways. I mean, who are they going to get to fill in? They can't get anyone. They can't get enough people to fill the empty places that's open, the empty spots open. What would they do if they all just walked off their jobs? Of course, it would be devastating to this country, but what are they really going to do? It's not like you can run around and quickly find people to fill these positions. These are skilled labored positions, and America has a huge deficit of skilled labor, especially in the younger generation. So at the very least, we've got a lot of very disgruntled, unhappy, and not very motivated rail workers. Morale, I'm sure, is extremely low right now. So who knows what will happen from this. Moving on to other things. Oh, our favorite part of the government. No, I don't want New York Post sending me notifications. The IRS lets everybody know, is letting you know. If you remember back months ago, I believe it was back in the spring, I can't remember exactly when, but they announced that they were going to start making you report any transaction over $600. Remember that? There was even local banks around here warning their customers that, hey, the IRS is saying that $600 transactions have to be reported, which is insane, especially considering inflation and the falling dollar value, that so much now costs over $600. I mean, your car payments, many of them are $600 or more. House payments, rent payments, even utility payments. My goodness, a large-size family going to the grocery store once or twice a month could easily spend over $600 in one grocery. I mean, I'm not saying that they all do, but it's not that ridiculous. You know, if you went shopping once a month, it's not that ridiculous to spend over $600 at the grocery store at once. And so now they're doing this. Now, this is interesting because originally they announced this, I don't know, 9-12 months ago. And then it was put into law that they were going to hire 87,000 new IRS agents. Remember that? We all remember that, right? And then, of course, we've got this now that they're warning that after the first of the year that you're going to have to start reporting transactions of $600 or more. And they've let Venmo, PayPal, and all these other payment systems know that they have to start reporting that. So every time, you know, you send your child in that's in college, maybe you PayPal them some money or Venmo or Cash App them some money, if it's $600 or more, it has to be reported to the IRS. It's interesting that this is happening at the same time of the increase in CBDCs. I don't think it's a coincidence, folks, because a lot of people would say, well, because here's an example. If you had a group of people, you know, your community of people, and say there's one or two people that cannot get out of the fact that they have to have a FedNow CBDC account, right? They have to have it. Maybe they're on Social Security or whatever. People could say, okay, the ones that don't need it, that don't have to have the account, won't have it, and then they'll just barter with the person and give them gold and silver and have that person pay, you know, their bills, or, you know, there's ways you could go around it, except with this now, that one person that's getting more than $600 in their account, or spending more than $600 in their account, it's going to get flagged. So it's going to make it very difficult, even more so, to work around the CBDC thing. This is, man, it's just more government control over you folks. More government control. Speaking of government control, China seems to be loosening some of their their COVID restrictions after a week of protest or more. Now, you know, is this all a ploy? This has been debated. I'm not saying that these people out here on the streets, you can see in this video, I'm not saying that these people are all paid actors, okay? It's not what I'm saying. Just in the same way of the BLM and Antifa stuff that went on a couple of years ago, I'm not saying that all those people were on the streets were paid and that they were all actors and stuff. No. But it doesn't mean that there weren't instigators getting this going, or there, you know, somehow to continue and to get this going for purpose. What that purpose is, I don't exactly know, but it's always possible. And here we have China cutting back on their COVID stuff. And it'll be interesting that if there really is some kind of little bug going around causing people to get sick in China, and now you've had all these, tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of people out on the street, are they going to have some explosion of cases here in the next week or two, and then use that as an excuse to make things even worse? I don't know, but that's the story. And then on to food. I thought I would bring this one up. So Brazil, there was a big landslide in Brazil, and it happened to tear up and cover a road. It cut off a road, and they've been having some serious rainfall and stuff. Now, for those of you that don't know, a huge amount of food comes from Brazil. Brazil produces a massive amount of food, okay? And about 80% of all that food comes to port by truck. And one of the number one roads that all that 80% of goods that comes to the port by truck, that road has been destroyed because of these rains. And they're not sure yet. Says that, it's not clear here when the roadblocks will be removed, is what they're saying here. But the point is that this could be, one more crack in the food supply thing, kind of like this I would put on this probably on the same level as the stuck ship in the Suez Canal. That's my opinion. But this is a pretty serious thing. A lot of wheat, a lot of sugar, other grains that are going to be held up because of this road getting cut off and because of the rains and the landslides. Our favorite person in the White House says here that he betrays his pledge to Americans, because at one point he had pledged to never have a VP. And no, I'm not talking about Kamala Harris. I'm talking about this thing here that's highlighted on the screen. He had pledged that we weren't going to have that, okay? But at the World Summit, like the G20 or B20 or whatever it was, they all signed an agreement, and this is a non-binding agreement, but they did sign an agreement that all of these countries would come up with a global VP, not a global Kamala Harris, but a global VP, so that you would only be able to travel internationally if you have this. And Joe Biden signed on to that. So for those of you naysayers that don't think that kind of stuff is going to happen, well, the guy that's sitting in the White House has pledged that we would be part of it and that we would make it happen. So just, put that one in your hat. A few days ago, I did a video on Tractor Supply and of their going woke. And if you remember in that video, I said that it wasn't so much about Tractor Supply. They were the example in that video. A lot of people's been beating up on them. That's fine. I don't shop there. I didn't before because there's not one around, and I don't plan to in the future. But it wasn't that I was beating up on that one business. I was making it a point that so many big businesses are doing this because they're feeling pressured. They can't get bank loans. Businesses exist on debt. That's how they exist. They're constantly going into debt, borrowing money to have cash flow so they can pay it off and get more money. And it's becoming difficult for them to do this because of this ESG stuff, okay? If their ESG score is too low, they can't get the money. They can't get the loans. And one of the things they have to do to get a higher ESG score is to be woke. And then, of course, some of them do it just because that's just how they are. But it's not just Tractor Supply, folks. Here we go. Oh, it's hold on. Oh, and another pop-up. Man, they just love pop-ups. Don't you just love the internet because of that? Walmart's woke Walton family funneling millions into LGBT activist causes, drag shows for kids, and DEI programs. So for those of you still shopping at Walmart, you should probably know that Walmart's doing the same thing. Now, Walmart is doing it, I think, differently. Okay, this is my opinion. If you've noticed, at least in my area, and maybe it's because we're here in the southern Midwest part of the country, but I've not really seen a lot of reports of Walmart, the business, pushing heavily on this. Now, you can find little things here and there in the store, but places like Target and stuff, I've seen where they have whole lines of non-binary clothes and all this stuff for kids. And I haven't seen that with Walmart. And I think because Walmart knows that the vast majority of their money comes from traditional, families. It's middle America kind of stuff. So we're not seeing a whole lot from Walmart per se. It's there, but it's not really in your face overtly. But the people that own Walmart, the Walmart family, tend to be activists, at least some of them. And they are the ones that are doing this. Alice Walton and Olivia and Tom Walton, they have their own foundations through the Walton Foundation. They've launched the Arkansas LGBTQ plus Advancement Fund. And so while Walmart, the store, is not in your face necessarily, the money that you're spending there is going to this. I'm not telling you to stop shopping there. I'm just letting you know that when you do shop there, your money is going to support this kind of stuff. Okay? That's where your money's going to support. So, I mean, it's hard. It's hard because I know a lot of you are going to say, just like with the Tractor Supply, it's the only place that I can go shopping, because it's true. A lot of these small towns, I can tell you out here, there's one other store for groceries, and it's the same distance away as the local Walmart, but it's a half-hour drive. It's a half-hour drive to Walmart, and it's a half-hour drive to this little mom-and-pop kind of regional grocery store, small. The prices are much higher. The selection's a lot less, but the people are way nicer. And you have to make a sacrifice. There are certain things you're just not going to be able to get. So it's a choice. It's a tough one in a way, but it shouldn't really be. It should be a pretty easy one. Ending today on maybe a somewhat lighter note. All this stuff that we've been talking about, a lot of it has to do with the economy, and it has to do with the fact that we could be seeing the dollar go bye-bye eventually. In fact, if you're interested in this kind of stuff that just happens to be popping up, it's funny, almost every one of these, which was this one here. Nope, it's not on here. There was several of the, there it is, Money Metals. There's several of these because that's what I'm looking at a lot of times on the computer. You should probably, get at least a little bit of this. But with the dollar collapsing eventually and going to digital, you might eventually see this kind of stuff. Just thought I'd show you this. This is in Venezuela, where their money is worthless. I cannot remember the approximate exchange rate because, well, number one, it changes constantly. But it's absolutely worthless. I mean, $1 is probably worth tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of Venezuelan dollars. But here's a picture of the Venezuelan currency, literally just in the streets down there. Okay? Oh, there, my computer's running slow. It's just in the gutters. You can see it everywhere. But it's not just that. And you've probably seen pictures of Weimar, Germany, the Weimar Republic in Germany. Here's some more pictures. This guy, he's going to take all his money and he's going to make something with it and get money. It's actually kind of cool. He's folding, making it into, what's this look like, little packages, little bags or something? I don't know. I don't know what this is. I guess it's just money that's in bundles. But basically, he's taking their worthless money and making something out of it, trying to make a little money because, just think a few years ago, this guy would have been a very wealthy man in this country with all that cash sitting there. There's more. Here's some close-up pictures. I don't know exactly. These look maybe little purses or something like that. But the money is virtually worthless. It's a snake and maybe birds or something. There's stuff in the background you can see. It's all being made by their money because their money's worthless. Here's a garbage can. Yep, let's just throw it in the garbage can because it's worthless. Folks, the possibility of America getting to that point, I think it's in the ballpark. Let's put it that way. I think it's in the ballpark. All currencies collapse. They all do at some point. There is no currency that exists today that has existed for, basically since that nation existed. They all collapse. They all collapse. They all come to an end. And is it time for ours to come to an end? I mean, it's supporting 31 some odd $trillion in debt. It has nothing backing it. We print it like crazy. I say now's a good time as any for it to start collapsing. And then, of course, it's interesting that it's doing this, it's shaky on a global stage, right at the time that they're trying to invent this new this digital currency. So, folks, get your houses in order. Prepare mentally, physically, and spiritually. Most importantly, spiritually. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.